Okay, welcome to the starter session. So from the bootcamp folder, you should recall there are two folders in connection with starter. Folder number 5, starter part 1, and folder number 6, starter part 2. So we are going to start off with the easier part 1. So let's assume you have downloaded both folders. So let's open part 1. So what I normally do would be I would copy all the files and then paste into the C drive, the data folder. As if you haven't opened this folder, let's say let me delete that quickly. Then you can open a new folder, call it data, and then paste all the files. Okay, we will make use of all the files actually. So maybe I can open the PowerPoint slides just to give you an outline what we are going to cover. C drive, data, starter. Some would call it stator, but I call it starter, but it doesn't really matter actually. Okay, so we would cover the very basic data entry skills, statistical analysis such as crosstab, deriving mean, and so forth. So once we have learned these basic starter skills, you will realize how awkward it is to work with Excel. Okay, some graphical analysis. There are certain types of graphs that you cannot do with Excel, but it is rather possible with starter, such as histogram, box plot. And then the last item or last topic under starter part 1 would be econometric analysis. So we are going to run OLS regressions and probe it. Okay, so I don't think I need this PowerPoint file anymore. Let me close PowerPoint. Okay, and then the questions, which actually include the answers in some way. So again, C drive, data, starter, the questions. Okay. Okay. First question. You can see 1.1 is actually not a question. 1.2, just to give you some rough ideas on how to copy data from Excel onto Starter, just in case. Okay, you initially enter the data on Excel. So let's look at this one. Okay, so the file is Starter, and then ignore this sheet that relates to the more difficult questions later. Okay, let's go back to this data sheet. So let's assume there are 6 variables. Later we are going to rename the variables. So this is the year. I think that stands for CPI if I remember correctly. Variable 3 and 4, I don't remember what they stand for. I think one stands for consumption, the other one stands for income. Variable 5 should stand for race, and the variable 6, you see this is a text, or in starter we call it a string variable. Okay, province. Okay, so what if you initially enter the data on Excel, but later you want to paste onto starter? So this is how you are going to do it. So copy the data, including the variable names. Copy. And now, assuming you have installed Starter on your laptop, Starter 14, I have got the older version, which is the outdated version 12. But from now on, we work with Starter version 14. So double click. So this is the first time you use Starter. So this is the result windows. So, and then I type the commands here, involving some very funny programming languages. So once I've typed some commands, the results would come up here, maybe crosstab and so forth. Later, we are going to show you the variable name. So this is the variable window. And this is the review window, which shows you all the commands you have entered. Okay. And now the question is, how can we paste the data? Okay, so this is what we have to do. This is called data editor. Okay. And then right click, paste. There will be a question. Starter asking, the first row should not be data. Does it stand for the variable names? The answer is actually yes. So you click this first option, variable names. Indeed, the first row is not data. It stands for the variable names. So click, and that's it. Okay. And then I want to, before we move on to the questions officially, I want to explain the difference between data editor and data browser. If you click data editor, then you can really change the data. For example, let me change this to 5, and then you press enter. So you can really change the data values if you go for this option, data editor. But if I rather click the option next to data editor, which is data browser, in this case, actually the data sheets or the spreadsheets are locked. You cannot change the value. So for example, let's say this one, I want to change it to 6. So on my keyboard, I actually try to type 6 and enter, and it is not going to work, okay? Because the data sheets are locked, okay? So that's the difference between data editor and data browser, okay? But I actually created the starter file already. So let's say I really don't need this starter file, and I don't think there is a need to save it, then you can type the command. So this is the first command that you learn now, clear. Okay, do you see? Everything is gone. You no longer see the variable names there. And do you start noticing the command window? It gives you the commands that you have recently run, okay, or recently entered. Okay, so let's go back to the C drive. So you can see quite a number of starter files. We are going to start with the easiest one, which is starter file 1. And I don't think I need Excel anymore, so I can close it for now. Okay, so this is how you open a file, starter data file, open. Look for the location, indeed C drive data, starter file 1. Okay, so this is exactly the same starter file that we created, copying the data from Excel and pasting onto starter. So you see the 6 variables, and let's go through the data again, you can see. And then you can notice for variable 6, this is a text, or in starter we call it string variable in text format. So the values or the text in this case is shown in red fonts. Okay. Okay, so let's officially do the questions. 1.2 we are done. 1.3 we can skip. I don't think we should save the data because I created the data starter file for you. Okay, so this is the first command, official command that we are going to learn. How to rename a variable. If you go back to the variable windows, I don't think anyone would understand what variable 1, 2, 3 stands for. We need to rename the variable so that once you share the starter files with your colleagues and friends, then it will be user-friendly. Everyone will be on the same page. Okay, so this is the rename command. So this is how we rename a variable. You need to type rename space, then the existing name space followed by the new name. So for example, variable 1, I want to rename it as year. By the way, I don't encourage you to be lazy and then copy and paste. Let's really do the manual typing. So rename variable 1. By the way, if you don't want to type variable 1, you can just double click here. Double click. And do you see in the command window, starter would automatically do the typing for you. Space, year. And if you are ready, you can press enter. Okay, so this is the command, and you can see the command you have most recently entered would appear as the last entry in the command window. And then in the variable window, do you notice the change now? Variable 1 is now renamed as year. Okay, let's do the next 5. Variable 2 renamed as CPI, and I deliberately use capital letter because it relates to the next question. Actually, starter is case sensitive. Okay. But I normally won't encourage anyone to use capital letters to name or rename a variable. But let's just do it for learning purpose. Rename variable 2 as CPI. And then let's go back to the question. The third one, variable 3, I rename it as cons1. So if I end a variable with the number 1, then it means it is in constant prices or real terms. Okay, so in other words, it means real consumption. Okay, and then for the fourth one, YPDI without the 1, then it means this is not in real terms or constant prices. It actually means nominal personal disposable income. So expect a question later that I would ask you to derive real personal disposable income. Obviously, we have to make use of CPI later. coming up soon. Variable 5 will be race, variable 6 will be province. So I must remember the third one is real consumption. Rename variable 3 cons 1. Rename variable 4 ypdi. Rename variable 5. Is it raise? Let me go back to the question. Yes. Raise, rename variable 6 province. Okay, and now you see the changes here and also all the commands here in the command window. Later, I will explain to you how you can save all these commands, but I will leave this until the very end. Okay. Okay. Assuming you are all happy, can we move on to 1.5? As I said, Stata is case sensitive and I don't encourage people to use capital letters to name a variable. So let's look at 1.5. Assuming you hate typing capital letters, so what would you, and you would like to rename CPI in capital letters as CPI again, but all in small letters. So once again, just use the rename command. Rename CPI and then small letters. Okay, you see the change here and also here. Okay. Okay, so this is the first command we learned. We just learned officially the rename command. Okay, and then next to the variable, do you notice the label option? Actually, it gives you an opportunity to provide short description on each variable. So this is the next command we are going to learn. We want to label a variable. So the first two keywords, or let's say the starter command or programming language, you must first type the two keywords, label variable, followed by, you must specify the variable name and then the description. You need double quotation mark. So let's quickly go through the 6 descriptions, one for each variable. Label year, it stands for year. CPI, it means, I think we all know, consumer price index. Cons 1, real consumption. YPDI, maybe I should name it more clearly, nominal personal disposable income. Race and province, self-explanatory. So let's do this quickly. Label variable, double quotation mark. This one is the easiest. Label variable, consumer price index. Label variable, this one, real consumption. By the way, I can give you a hint in case you hate typing the same words again and again. You can just click on these commands. Let's say I click on this one. And then do you see the command is back here? Then I just have to change the description to nominal personal disposable income. Okay, this is a failed way to be lazy in case you are getting fed up typing the same words. Label variable again and again. 2 more. Oh, okay. Okay, I forgot to change that. Okay, let me go back to this. Okay, sorry about the error. Real consumption. You can see one mistake caused us daily. Ooh, label variable. Cons 1, real consumption. Okay. Okay, let me rather be hardworking. I shouldn't make use of these shortcut methods again. YPDI. This is nominal personal disposable income. And then the next one, label variable, race. We know this is race, or you can give a description like ethnicity group or population group. And then the last one, ooh, I must first double click on the variable. Province, it stands for province. So you can see the short description. And remember to use double quotation mark. And then the next command, let's say you want to provide a very long description to a variable. Let's say CPI stands for da 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 da. But the description is too long. So there's not enough space here under the label command. So what you need to do is to use this command, note CPI, then you just randomly type a long description. Okay, let's say this is the long explanation on CPI. Okay. And then later, when you open the starter file again, you just type note. Then all the notes will be back.